All right, today we're talking about a tool that's often, completely overlooked in healthcare. And that tool is just conversation. But not just any conversation. We're going to explore how a very specific kind of talk can literally change someone's life by helping them finally quit smoking. So let's get right into it. So picture this. You've got a doctor, we'll just call her Dr. X, and she's seeing a new patient, a 65-year-old guy named Don Victor. Now, Don Victor has diabetes, he's got high blood pressure, and he smokes. So Dr. X just lays into him with this. It is so direct, right? Super forceful. And honestly, this kind of thing happens in clinics all the time. But here's the real question. Does it actually work? Well, if you look at the hard data, the answer is a big, fat no. See, on their own, with zero professional help, only about 3 to 5% of smokers who try to quit will actually succeed. I mean, think about that. That means for every 100 people who try, 95 of them are facing this incredibly tough battle. And that whole confrontational thing we just saw, it just puts up a wall. It totally misses the point about the complex psychology of addiction. Okay, so if that confrontational style doesn't work, we really need to get to the bottom of why. So let's start by breaking down this very common method, what we're calling the quitting confrontation. So really, this all boils down to two totally different mindsets. On one side, you've got that unstructured advice, the kind Dr. X was dishing out. It's all about persuading, maybe even forcing someone, and it's not really based on solid evidence. But where we want to be is on the other side, effective counseling. And that's all about working together, respecting that a person can make their own choices, and giving them personalized info. It's this huge shift from being a boss to being a partner. So why is this collaborative approach so much better? Well, it's because it taps into how we, as adults, actually make big changes in our lives. I mean, think about it. You don't change because someone tells you to, right? We change when we feel like someone gets us, when we see how it's relevant to our lives, and, this is a big one, when we actually believe we can do it. It's all about firing up that motivation from the inside, not just pushing from the outside. Okay, so keeping that psychology of change in mind, let's dive into some real strategies that actually put these ideas to work. It's time to move from the problem to the solution. And here's the thing. You don't need some long, drawn-out therapy session to make a real difference. This can all start with a chat that takes just 3 minutes, using what's called the ABCD strategy. It's a super simple framework. A stands for averiguar, which just means ask about their tobacco use. B is for breve consejo, or giving some brief advice. C is for cesación, which is offering support to quit. And finally, D is for derivar, referring them to a specialist if they need it. It's structured, it's fast, and it is incredibly effective. And, this isn't just some random idea cooked up out of nowhere. The ABCD model lines up almost perfectly with other big strategies used all over the world, like the 5 A's model they use in the US and the UK. That one stands for ask, advise, assess, assist, and arrange. So yeah, the names are a little different, but the core idea, it's exactly the same. It's all about having a structured, empathetic conversation. But you might be wondering, does such a small effort really make a difference? Oh, absolutely. The numbers prove it. For every 100 smokers who get just a few minutes of this kind of structured advice, 5 more of them will successfully quit compared to people who got no advice at all. I mean, that's 5 lives changed, 5 families impacted, all from one little 3-minute conversation. Now imagine scaling that up across an entire healthcare system. The impact is just massive. All right, so let's take this a step further. How can we adapt this 3-minute conversation for people who are, kind of on the fence about quitting? Okay, for those patients who aren't quite ready to jump in and commit, there's a more advanced technique. It's called motivational interviewing, or MI for short. The official definition is a collaborative, person-centered way of guiding. But think of it like this. The goal is not to force someone to change. It's to help them find their own reasons, their own motivation. You're not a drill sergeant barking orders. You're more like a guide on a journey. The whole spirit of motivational interviewing is really built on 4 key principles. First, you express empathy. That's how you build trust. Then, you help the person see the gap, the discrepancy between what they're doing now and what they want for their future. Next, you roll with resistance. I love that phrase. It means you don't fight back or argue. You just explore their hesitation. And last but not least, you support their self-efficacy. You boost their belief that, yes, they can actually do this.
So let's get practical. There are some great techniques here, and you can remember them with the acronym PARS. The first one is P for preguntar, which is to ask open-ended questions. So instead of a simple yes or no question like, do you want to quit? You ask something like, tell me a little about what you've thought about when it comes to cigarettes. See the difference? That invites a real conversation, not just a one-word answer.
Next up is A for affirm, which means to affirm. This is all about spotting and acknowledging the person's strengths and the effort they're putting in, even if it seems small. Just saying something like, you've really been trying, even when those cravings were hitting hard. That builds their confidence. It shows them that you see them as a capable person, and that is a huge motivator. Then we have R for reflejar, which is reflective listening. And honestly, this one is a total game changer. It's about really listening to what someone is saying and then reflecting it back to them, but maybe rephrasing their feelings. So in this example here, by reflecting that feeling of frustration, you're showing them that you get it. The person feels truly heard and understood, and that just builds so much trust. And finally, S for synthesize, or to summarize. This is where you kind of pull all the different pieces of the conversation together. It does two things. First, it proves you've been listening. But more importantly, it helps the person see their own thoughts laid out, nice and clear. It often shines a spotlight on their own mixed feelings. You know, like, I'm worried about my mom, but I also want to smoke less. And that little bit of internal conflict, that's the engine that drives change. So let's put it all together. These more advanced techniques are how you get past that brick wall of, I'm not ready, and start to explore what's actually going on underneath. And the results? Honestly, they're stunning. Compared to just giving simple advice, these short motivational interviewing sessions are 69% more effective at helping people quit. But get this, when it's done by a family doctor, someone the patient trusts and has a relationship with, the effectiveness jumps to a staggering 249%. Let that sink in. This isn't just a nice chat. This is a powerful clinical tool. So the obvious question is, if this is so incredibly effective, why isn't every single health professional using it? Well, the barriers are real. Things like not having enough time, being afraid of damaging the relationship with the patient, not having the right training, or just not feeling confident. There's even this mistaken belief out there that these conversations just don't work. These are all serious hurdles that our healthcare systems really need to figure out how to overcome.
And that really brings us to the key takeaway, the single most important thing to remember from all of this. A structured, empathetic conversation. It's not some soft skill. It is a fundamental, evidence-based, and incredibly powerful clinical tool that can create real, lasting change in someone's life. Which leaves us right here, face to face with the undeniable power of conversation.
So I'll leave you with this thought. We often look to medicine and technology for the next big cure. But what if one of the most powerful prescriptions we can write isn't for a pill, but for a new kind of conversation? One built on empathy, collaboration, and a genuine belief in a person's ability to change.